Professor Ballal, Dr. Thomas, Dr. Srikant Rao, Dr. Jagannath, my teachers, I see a lot of them here, my ex-colleagues, my classmates. It's a very humbling experience to be standing in front of you, to be recognized by your own brethren. So for that, I'm deeply touched and humbled. Thank you so much. Every one of my classmates here has done something amazing with their lives. And every one of them deserves to be up here. So when Dr. Jagannath asked me to be here, I jokingly asked him, is this to be a distinguished alumnus or an extinguished alumnus? I did come close to being extinguished, more about that later. I'll just talk to you about 3 things today. 3 stories and 3 lessons I learned along the way. The first is a story and a lesson from Manipal. It was the year 1988. We had just graduated. All my friends were moving on to great things, to jobs in India and abroad, for higher studies in India and abroad, some to manage their own companies. And I was faced with the prospect of staying back. Not because I didn't have any options. I had been accepted into L&T as part of the campus recruitment. I had an admission for masters at Stanford, but I had to stay back for financial reasons. Seeing your entire class leave and not being able to leave with them can be pretty depressing. I said, let's try to make the best of that opportunity. I had to teach at MIT for a year. I met up with Professor Bairi, the late Professor Bairi, who we all loved and respected so much. And I requested him, I said, sir, will you please let me teach final year students? At least there is some sort of a connection that we could make with people our age. And he most graciously accepted. Now, then the problem began, because most of you know how we were in our classrooms, right? So my students were trying to give me a taste of the medicine themselves. So trying to communicate with a class full of seniors and still being able to communicate your thoughts can be pretty challenging, but it was also a very strong learning experience. I saved enough money after that. I wanted to go abroad. This is 1989. I applied for my passport, and the passport office in Bangalore lost my passport application. True story. I couldn't go abroad. I had gotten admission into Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies in Bombay, so I started the MBA program. 2 months into the program, I had to stop my studies because I met with an accident. I was thrown off a moving train. Here I was stuck in Bombay. I recuperated, I went back to the university, and the university told me, look, no problems, we'll hold your admission, you just have to come join us the next year. It was a lockstep program. They said, you don't have to apply again, we'll just give you admission the next year and you can pick up. Now here I was faced with the prospect of losing another year. Right? And that was pretty devastating. Right? But then I said, okay, something is going to work out, right? You constantly keep believing that something is going to work out. Magically, things fell into place. The passport office found my passport. I got my passport in hand. But then I had a problem of getting a visa, because good old days, then some of you might remember, you needed to show 1 lakh of rupees in your deposit, in your bank account, get a statement, and then take it to the visa office. My dad, who is here, we didn't have 1 lakh of rupees. Talked to a lot of friends, nobody was coming through. A person came like an angel in disguise, someone who I had no clue. I did not know him at all. He deposited 1 lakh rupees into a Canara Bank account for 1 day. Got the manager to give me a statement. The very next day, he withdrew the money. I got a visa. I didn't have money to pay for the airfare. Another friend in Bombay introduced me to a person who was running a Parsi scholarship fund. So I went and talked to this guy. I said, I'm not a Bawa. Yet I managed to convince him that, that year he didn't have much of an application pool from the Bawa community. I told him, you have to fund somebody, right? This money is going to go waste. He said, look, I'm going to pay for a one-way ticket to the US. That's it. and the rest is history. What's the lesson in all of this? You face challenges in your life all the time, but you can definitely make the best of the situation. Whenever you face barriers in life, one of the things that I learned, the biggest barrier you have to overcome is the barrier in your mind. If you overcome the barrier in your mind, anything is possible. And that's the one thing that I wanted to share with you today as the first lesson from Manipal. And I'm reminded of this one story about MITians, right? So when life throws lemons at you, most people make a lot of complaining. Some people make lemonade out of it, right? Not our MITians. They go get tequila, then use the lemon to have shots. That's how we make the best of a real bad situation. My second lesson is a lesson from Intel. It's a lesson I learned pretty early at Intel. I was with Intel for about 20 years. And that lesson is a technical lesson, but it also applies to our professional lives. And that is that you have to continue to innovate, otherwise you're going to be obsolete. Take the example of a company like Intel. It started out as a microprocessor company 50 years back, as a memory company, had to transform itself into a microprocessor company. Started out as a hardware company, had to move into software and services. Started out doing digital chips, has moved to analog and mixed signal, and is now trying to compete and build RF chips. I had to do the same thing in my career at Intel. I started out in manufacturing, had to move to hardware, to software, had to go get an MBA, get into marketing, get into sales, get into business development, get into legal, get into finance. I had to do all of this to stay relevant. Because there's always a crop of new guys that are coming and trying to take your job away, right? So you have to constantly innovate to get there. Now, why is this really important? Let me give you 3 trends that are happening in the world. There's one trend that has to do with what I call a market size of 1. Most of us in marketing know everything about market segments, TAMs, SAMs, etc. The future is going to be a market segment of 1. Now, imagine this scenario. You have a website called buildmycar.com, wherein all of us can go one day, pick out the specifications of a very personal car that we would like to build. A configuration of options that has a hood, the grille, the gears, the interior options, etc., and press print. And using 3D printing, they're going to be able to build a car for us. Look at what's happening in the space of organs. There are companies that have started prototyping building organs like bladders, like kidneys, etc., in the lab, using your own cells. They try to build this outside and then transplant it into you to minimize the chances of the body rejecting it. Look at genomics. About 6 years back, I got my gene pool analyzed, and I found that I was at risk for some very debilitating diseases. I was able to act on it. Tomorrow, all of us are going to be able to do that, and we are going to be able to get personalized medicine delivered to us. The second trend that I see is what I call the end of search. Today, you go to Google and you search for information. Tomorrow, information is going to be able to find you. Before you even ask for information, systems are going to be able to predict what you're looking for, and they'll deliver that information to you. The third trend that I see is a trend that I'm calling billions of things. Today, there are about 10 billion devices connected to the internet. There are estimates that by 2020, there is going to be 50 billion devices connected to the internet. And these are not computer devices. These are just things, from cars to cardiac monitors, from parks to parking meters, from cows to crops. They're all going to be connected on the internet. Now imagine the scenario wherein your car is running low on fuel. It's going to message you so that you can make time to go fill gas on your way to work. There are, as we speak, some farms being developed wherein the cows are equipped with devices, and these cows are going to tell you that they're getting sick, so the farmer can go proactively work on that. There used to be a person, KK, who used to work for me at Intel. He's now a farmer in Kerala. He's doing hydroponics. He's growing mushrooms in a really small place. And what he's done is he's developed a system wherein, using his Android phone, he's able to look at the humidity and temperature of the ambient surroundings around him and control the irrigation pattern. This is the kind of future we are looking at. And what happens to our kids is that there are studies which say that nearly 65% of the jobs that our kids are going to be in have not even been invented today. So colleges like this are essential, but they're not going to be able to tell us everything because the future is so vibrant and dynamic. The only way we can act and stay relevant is by constantly upgrading ourselves. And it's not just me. A lot of my classmates have done it. Some of my classmates have gone on to become lawyers. I know one of my classmates, Sanjay Rao, has gone on to run a hang gliding institute. So we have a fraternity of people who have been constantly upgrading themselves. And that is key for us to stay relevant. The third lesson that I learned is a lesson about life itself. It was the year 2007. I had just turned 40. I had a great life going on for me. I had a great professional life. I was at the top of my game. I was the general manager at Intel. I was traveling the world. Financially, I was not doing too bad either. Personally, I had a great family life. And then I got hit with something in the face, something that I call life. I started losing my memory. I started getting these debilitating headaches, the kind that last 4 hours a day, 3 times a day. This kind of a condition impacts men over 40, I was later told, but the women sufferers who had this condition likened the pain to childbirth. That's the intensity of pain. Now you can just imagine giving birth to a child 3 times a day. My world was devastated. My parents were staying with me. My mom was crying all the time. My dad, bless his soul, was stoic, but he was shaken. My wife was the one who clinically exclaimed, she said, look, okay, he's going to die, big deal. We still have 3 kids to take care of. So why don't we just get on with life and hope for the best? That clinical observation, however cold it was what gave me hope. It basically told me, look, I'm not dead. As long as it doesn't kill me, it's okay. Then I thought, what if it does kill me? And I remembered I had already purchased life insurance. So I was smiling again. So when life gives you the worst, you start looking out for those rays of hope. And believe me, those rays of hope materialize and they give you the strength to carry on with the day. Short story after that, after about a year and a half of being in bed and having all sorts of diagnoses that went from a hole in the heart to a problem in the carotid artery, to an aneurysm in the brain, to cancer in the brain, all of these things happened. I was in India trying to get treatment. I spent 3 months at a center getting alternate therapy, acupressure, acupuncture, pranayama, yoga, you name it. Finally, I managed to analyze my genes in the US, and I found that I was at risk for a very specific condition. That gave the clue to my physician at the Mayo Clinic. He started the regimen. I have been symptom-free since then because I take 6 tablets a day, every day. But life is great today. Life is absolutely great. Life is beautiful. One of the things I learned out of this is something that I call the 20-20-20-20 problem. And what that means is that the first 20 years of your life are the most exciting and the most carefree period of your life. It's your childhood. It's the time that most of us spent at Manipal. The next 20 years of your life are the most transformative. You get your first job, you make your career, you make money, you get married, and you have your first and hopefully your only wife. You have your children. Now you're 40. The key question you have to ask yourself, well, most of us are about 40, 45, but this question came to me when I was 40. The key question is, do I have 20 more years to live or do I have 40 more years to live? Most of us feel we have 40 more years to live and that we work till we are 60. We plan to retire at 60 and then do the things that we like to do the things that we love to do. We travel the world. We help other people. We follow this passion. We have a hobby of ours that we want to continue, etc. My only question to you is, what if you don't have 40 years? What if you only have 20 years? Heck, what if you have only one more year? At the age of 40, I wasn't sure I could make it to my 41st birthday. We've got about 15 of our classmates who are no longer with us. They left us before they turned 40. And the only thought I want to leave you with is, what if you only had one more day in your life? Are you going to be doing the same thing that you're doing? Steve Jobs famously said, if you treat each day like it's the last day of your life, one day you're going to be right. Seize the opportunity. Ask yourself, is this what I want to do the rest of my life if this is the only day left? Follow your dreams, follow your passions, do good. Don't worry about the rest of the things. They'll all be immaterial. I want to leave you with a thought that, the only thing that you want to live is your own life. Don't worry about what the other people are looking at you with, because only you can live your life. No one else can live your life. Respected faculty members and guests, we've had an enormous amount of memories out here, right from the Bacchuses to the Red Suns, to the Patta parties, to the Langdas, to the horse on campus, to Dev's bun masala. Along with education, you've given us a lot of amazing memories that all of us have been cherishing over the last 2 days. I want to thank you for these memories. I want to thank you for giving us not just the gift of education, but for teaching us about life itself. Thank you so much. God bless.